What I'm finding now is that in these last maybe few years, decade or so, it's almost like parents want to be their kids' friends. And I always say they don't need any more friends. They have tons of friends. They really need parents. Parents are huge. There's a reason why, adult parents and human parents, we stay with our kids longer than any other, species around. They need us. And saying no and setting boundaries is one of the toughest things for a lot of parents to do. And they want to even not only just be their kids' friends, but they don't want their child hurt, and they want them to be popular, and they want them to be happy, and all these things that come into play. But saying no for the right reasons is really important. It's one of the reasons why we're around, not just to feed them and clothe them, but we're there to help them make better decisions and help set some boundaries and set some limits for them so that they can grow up and be a person that can then say no to themselves and make healthier choices.
But looking at this at first glance, you'd be concerned, or some viewers might be concerned that you're going to talk about being negative, because they hear no so many times, children as well. What's the difference between a good no and a bad no?
Well, the no, why can't I do this? Because I'm your parent and I said so, and that's final. I mean, that is an old tape a lot of us have. But saying no, looking at first of all, listening. Don't just say no. That's worse even, saying no without even thinking about it. So I just don't mean every time the child wants to do something, you say no. The first step comes with listening. What are they asking for? What do they need? And really, really make it a requirement that the child has to ask in a kind of I say grown-up, respectful way. The whining and the crying, and I had a mother bring her daughter to me. Mrs. Podesta, all my daughter does is whine. I'm like, well, no kidding. I mean, she listened to you her whole life, and that's where it starts. You don't listen if they're whining. When I whined, my mom and dad always said, "Can't hear you, can't hear the whining." Well, I want that, can't hear you, until finally I learned to say, "Mom, Dad, here's what I'd like to do. Why?" And they always said why. And I always knew I had to be accountable, even at 3 and 4 and 5. Why do you want the cookie? Why do you want to go out and play? And it made me have to, before I asked, I even had to think about, why do I want it? So why? And they listened. I mean, they would listen to what my reasons were. And I learned early on, too, that if I had a good game plan, if I had legitimate reasons, I had to do a little research. I couldn't just say, I want to stay out till 2 o'clock in the morning when my curfew is midnight. Why? Here's why. And I also learned early on that if I had a good plan, if I had done my research, if I had put some thought into it, even when I was younger, that there was some times when they would say yes to things I thought they would say no. But I always knew my parents weren't afraid to say no. If I was asking something that wasn't healthy for me, or wouldn't have been safe for me, or was just simply a bad choice for me, or I didn't deserve to do it, or I was too young to do it, no matter what my reasons were, I always knew that they had absolutely no problem saying, no, why not?
And you think people have problems with this?
Oh, I think so.
You see?
I think kids now have learned to play the game. They know how to cry or whine or plead or complain or yell or throw a tantrum. Children know how to make their parents pay a price. And basically kids go into 2 areas. One's hurt and one's anger. So if you're my dad and you tell me no, I can cry and whine and then I make you feel guilty, or I can yell and scream and then I make you afraid that I'm never going to like you again. And so I think kids have become very good at manipulating, and I think we always did, but I think our parents just didn't fall for it. If I whine and cried or screamed or yelled, I think my parents, I got a worse punishment. That's how you're going to talk? Well, now you can't go out the next day either. And so I learned, pretty much that I couldn't manipulate. So I think it's important that parents watching, there has to be boundaries. You have to listen, number one. You need to have them talk to you and ask you correctly and respectfully. It's great for you to ask them why they want it. You need to think about it, and you need to be able to have a reason why. Not just because I'm your father and I said so. Here's our thoughts. Here's why we're saying no. And we'd love for you to be happy. Sorry that you're feeling this way, but in this case, we've given it a lot of thought. So no should not be a quick no. It should not be a a no just because you're mad, or a no because you don't want to take a time, but a well thought out, reasonable no is an awesome gift for a child.